Oh, 2020, what a year you've been. What an awful, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad year you've been. I know I already said this in my top 10 UFC fights list, but honestly, fist fuck this horrid fucking year with the Ibanez S Series headstock and hold the loop. Almost nothing about the opening to this decade has been good. Almost nothing. Turns out even 2020 of all years could still churn out a decent album or two, or 30 in this list's case. I will admit there are some aspects that weren't as strong as last year, but that could just be because a lot of what happened this year limited a lot of things music-wise. With the future of live music uncertain and the future of music in general looking bleak, how about we go over the not too distant past? This is my top 10 honourable mentions of 2020, and I'll do the other 20 soon after, so don't worry about those. For now, let's go on with this one. Number 10. Orthodox, Let It Take Its Course. Over the course of 2020, I've listened to a lot of metal, and I've listened to a lot of well-written concept albums. This is a rare case that throws together both, and while there is a stronger contender for this style in my top 10 list proper, that doesn't mean that I'm going to ignore what Orthodox went for here. Let It Take Its Course is an interesting look at the inner human psyche on the concept of revenge. I'd say it was surprisingly bleak given the year that it was released in, but this is oddly more positive than it may seem. These guys are new to the game, sure, but they sure know how to play it. This is a fantastically written sophomore effort, produced in a great way and performed just how it's supposed to be, with nary dull moments. Number 9. Currents, The Way It Ends. I completely missed these guys' debut album in 2017, so I listened to it in 2018 and I instantly regret not including it in my top 10 list of 2017. So, as compensation, here's their second album for my honourable mentions. So, Currents hail from New York and have a unique and motive tone to their particular brand of metalcore that reminds me of the more melodic moments of Counterparts, and, as you know, I love me some Counterparts. The lead vocalist just soars on these tracks, his voice bouncing beautifully off with the slick technical guitar work and bubbling drums, and the heavy lyrics and storytelling focus are on point. Here's to their third piece, whenever that may be, hopefully before the end of this year, but who knows. 8. Mothka, Blue Hour. I have a good friend named Graves on Discord who will recommend some music to me, and he told me to give this one a shot. As people know, I veer away from mainstream pop bollocks because it sucks. If I wanted to hear songs about making bad life decisions, I would listen to Attila, but I don't hate myself that much. Yet. Mothka, though, is a rare breed. She's still young into her career and this is her debut, but what a breathtaking first go it is. She has a really unique aesthetic for the genre, and her experiences are some of the most relatable I've heard from pop, drawing on her experiences with drug abuse, bad relationships and partying. I will be honest, I may be keeping my eye on her for whatever she releases next because this was an absolute joy. Number 7. Dragged Under, The World Is In Your Way. Over the past few years I've developed an affinity for watching musicians on YouTube. A drummer named Cobus was my first, but more recent ones are guitarists like Jared Dines, Rob Scallon and Davey504. Checkmate Davey504. Going back to Jared, he's been in band, and his friends Ryan, Fluff, Bruce and Tony Capocci are the main men behind this new 5-piece. It's interesting for such a new band to drop a full length this early, but considering the talent on hand, I'm not really seeing it as a bad thing. I did almost drop this one from my honourable mentions list, but I decided that I just love the work and dedication put into it way too much to cross it off, and the fact that it's a style I already liked helped a lot too. Also, Instability is a fucking banger. Number 6. Broadway Calls, Sad in the City. Remember my last ever Music of the Month episode? Stop lying, nobody does. I mentioned Less Than Jake, whose newest album was 7 years after their last one, did have Broadway Calls, who are honestly so good that it's not even fair. That time off seems to have matured these guys, which is fucking saying something considering that for the genre they were already pretty grown up. I just wish I knew why we got 7 years of nothing only for them to drop yet another gem. I wish more people kept their eyes on these guys because their combination of charm, heartfelt songwriting and honesty all mix into a big beautiful melting pot to get a not so big but still equally beautiful album. Number 5. Down Again, The Devil Is a Gentleman. So this is one I feel really bad for not putting on my main list, and there's a feeling that will get worse as we carry on, so you don't have to worry about that. I do. Yay. This is another debut, and it's an absolute corker. Down Again sound like an emerging post-hardcore band because they are one, and spoilers, there is a lot of that style of music on these lists. Down Again champions storytelling over a very heavy backdrop of sounds, and while I do still think the production has some issues, that's not really the band's fault, I think. At the very least, I'm hoping it's not their fault. Still, the album is atmospheric and organic, coming from a place of raw, pure, unbridled emotion that's hard to get across. I mean, yeah, as the following albums will tell you, some may have done it better, but Down Again deserves tons of praise for doing it in their own unique way, and I'll be looking forward to what they drop next. Number 4. Dogleg, Melee. I mean, I feel like this album was a given on any top list this year. It's actually one of the more expected albums to be on best of lists, and it is on one of mine, technically. I mean, honourable mentions isn't exactly the top 20, but still. It's hard for pop punk and mathcore to get along, but Dogleg may be an exception to that rule. Well, there's other albums I crushed off this list in that similar vein, because Dogleg pretty much got me into the genre and probably do it better than most of the bands did last year. It came out in the midst of the pandemic announcement when it kicked off, which kind of helped things, but those are circumstances that were way out of the band's control. I recommend that you pick this one up though and love it for what it is, which is honest and fun and surprisingly creative for what it does. Honestly, it's really good. Number 3. Watsky, Placement. Again, this is another album that just narrowly missed the pre-COVID era. And again, like Mothika's album, this one's here because I will champion heartfelt honest rap over whatever the fuck Eminem was up to this past year, my god. Truth be told, I've wanted to do a Watsky album for such a long time, and as I'm more into hip hop than I usually am these times, I figured fuck it, put on some good vibes. It's a summer-leaning album that came out in March of all times, but damn it, Watsky's good. His smooth flow and silken delivery of his top-tier lyrics over the fantastic beats are some pieces of absolute gold. 2020 might have been a shitty year, but it's a year where artists like Watsky, who already shines bright, have the opportunity to go supernova, and I think he's already there. Number 2, The Black Dahlia Murder, Verminous. You will be surprised to find a distinct lack of metal on my list, mostly because I listened to so goddamn much of it in 2020 that it's hard to decipher the good from the bad. Luckily, Black Dahlia Murder are fucking awesome, so they may as well be the mainstays. I mean, it's death metal. I don't like death metal as a rule, but for some reason I do when these guys do it. This is their first album in 3 years, which is their longest gap in albums, but damn it, this one's just really, really good. I mean, sure, it's more of what they usually do, and while I love Nightbringers more for its complexity, this one's just brutal, heavy, and surprisingly fun. You can't have too much of a good thing when it sounds as good as this, and you especially can't have too much Black Dahlia Murder. And my number 1 honourable mention for 2020, All Time Low, Wake Up Sunshine. So, here's the deal. I didn't know what to expect from this album. I heard songs like Birthday over and over again thinking, well, if this is the turn they're taking, then kudos to them. Except Birthday isn't even on this album. I mean, sure, the entirety of it is a much more pop-leaning style from these guys, and yeah, there are elements that go on for a bit long, but damn do they make the most of it, and damn do they sound like they're actually having fun again. This is the most vibrant that these dudes have sounded in years, while also combining some of their dark lyrical themes and best performances. If people slept on these guys before, then hopefully this album will wake people up, sunshine. All Time Low are and always have been more than just the sum of their parts, and if any album is going to prove that, it may as well be this one. So that's it for my 10 honourable mentions, or numbers 30 to 21 if you'd like. I will see you very, very soon for the first 10 of the top 20. And yeah, I want to thank you for sticking all the way through this, and I'll see you all probably later on today because I want to do another stream. Want to make it more of a daily thing. Maybe not so much on weekends. Maybe on weekends, I haven't decided yet. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.